but I pray that you do. We believe in the Almighty God and the power of the written word. Yes? No? We believe that self care is vital. I was glad to hear Serlina say that you're going to do some self care on Sunday because that is vital. Whether we are in the sunshine or whether we're in the shadows, we got to take care of ourselves. What we believe that whatever way we're feeling right now is okay. It's all right. You might be happy, you might be sad, you might be overwhelmed, you might be upset, you might be angry, you might feel numb. Whatever way you're feeling, it is all right. It's okay. Tears are welcome here. There are Kleenex boxes at the front of each side, and I don't know if there's Kleenexes throughout the church. There's some in the back as well. What I'm asking is that should anyone shed a tear, including me, that you not offer us a Kleenex, but rather you let us ask for it. So if somebody's doing this, that means bring me some tissue right now. But other than that, don't assume, because if your tears need to flow, let them flow. Is that all right? That is one of the most uncomfortable things sometimes, because we want to dry each other's tears because we don't want to see people hurting. But tears are so cleansing and so necessary, and were given to us by God. And it is important that you find resources where you need them. You may need to talk to a counselor. You may need to call up that friend who can really pray with you and get you through. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, I need help. Remember, Jesus wept. And I'm always fascinated by this story because Jesus was on his way to raise Lazarus from the dead, and yet he wept. Because losing someone is a horrible thing. It is a tragic thing. It is something that brings pain to us. So even Jesus, on his way to bringing life, he wept. And let that be a lesson to us that tears are all right here. So we are familiar with the familiar 23rd Psalms, and you all could probably quote this with me that says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Gonna break that down one at a time, and I need to hear from you if that's all right. So, what does it mean when it says, yea, though I walk? Anybody? Yes. When you're going through trouble. Yes. Someone else. Yes. When you don't know where you're going to. Yes. There is a pathway. Somebody tell me, which way are you going when you're walking? You're going forward. You're moving. Like you said, there's a pathway. You're making your way through it. When things are rough, I can still move. I can still walk. I can still walk forward. That's important. The second one is, what's the verse? Yea, that I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. What do you think of when you think of the valley of the shadow of death? Yes. Hardship. Anyone else? No wrong answers here. Nobody's gonna say again. Death is imminent. Valley of the shadow, Pastor. Yes. For those of us who believe it is not a permanent place. I think I saw a hand. Confusion. Absolutely. We were designed by God for eternity. So when we experience loss in this earth, it is something that is difficult for us to experience and go through. But like the pastor said, he sort of, I know you've been reading my notes, Pastor. It's a valley, it's a shadow. Have you ever, as a kid, tried to jump on your shadow? You try to chase your shadow, and everywhere you go, the shadow's going with you because it is a shadow. It's not real. I'm not saying that your feelings are not real. What I'm saying is that for those of us who believe, death is like sleeping, and it's going to be better after a while. Next, I will fear no evil. Is that what? Yeah, I can't read. Okay, if I could turn around. I will fear no evil. How many of you have ever felt afraid? Of course, we all have. But the Bible tells us when we're going through these things, we are not to fear evil. For why? For thou art with me. I don't know who's ever felt alone. I have felt so alone, so lonely, so overcome, so overwhelmed. But I cling to this. I am not alone. Things are not as they appear. He is with us always. And the last one, his rod and his staff comforts us. Yes, there is comfort when you believe in God. So we're going to talk about some of the shadows. First of all, I want you to know that when I talk about shadows, I'm talking about losses that we've experienced. And it's very important that we understand that a loss is a loss, okay? And I am not ever to judge someone else's pain for their loss because it doesn't feel as great as my loss. I've had some things happen to me. Oh, yes. But if you lost your bird tweet and it's bringing you down today, how dare I say, well, but you haven't lost so-and-so, or you haven't lost. A loss is a loss. But we're going to break down what those losses are, what I'm referring to. First of all, there's emotional loss. That's the one we think of when we think of loss. You've lost someone close to you. You've lost your parent. You've lost your spouse. You've lost your sibling. You've lost your child. An emotional loss can also be losing a friend. A few weeks ago, I went to a dear friend's memorial service, and it was heartbreaking. No, I'm not family. I didn't sit on the front two pews, but that loss is so palpable. I can feel it. I miss her. So loss is anybody emotional that you've had an opportunity to love and you've lost. So that's one kind of loss. The second kind of loss is loss of community. And I'm going to pick on you, my dear sister. Our dear sister has just relocated here from Texas. She has lost her community. Now, we love her. We love you. And we are so glad that you are here with us. And we are now your new community, but you have lost your old community. The people that she's been around and used to, and the places she's gone, and the familiarity of all that time has been lost. If anybody's ever relocated or you're in a different place, you've lost community. Sometimes even just moving across town, you realize, oh, that's the neighbor that used to put my trash cans out every day. I don't have that anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? Loss of community can be serious. And then there's financial losses. I had a conversation with someone who said to me, I didn't realize that when someone loses a spouse, they have lost some finances. And I don't care if that guy just Ubered twice a month and brought home 33 cents. it's 33 cents you don't have anymore because that financial support is gone. But usually when you're talking couples, there is a loss. Sometimes even parent and child, even adult. You call your mom up and say, "Hey, mom, I want some new shoes," and mama say, "Girl, I'm sending you $50," or whatever. And there's a loss of finances. Who do you go to now? Star's not gonna give me $50 for a new pair of shoes. You got $50 for a new pair of shoes? Like, let me not speak that, because maybe she will. But do you see what I'm saying? So financial loss, not only within your household, but there could be other financial losses as well. Loss of identity is another one that is huge. Um, I was married to a pastor. I was a first lady of a church. And so I'm not first lady now. When they have spousal meetings and all those kinds of things, they don't call me, because I'm not a spouse. I'm not a pastor's spouse anymore. But there's other kinds of losses of identity. You may have been someone's parent, and now that they're gone, you feel like you've lost that identity. Or you were so and so's oldest child, or middle girl, or only son, or what have you. You've lost that identity. And so that can be something that is challenging. There's also a loss of status. Sometimes people are, I was Mrs. Mountain on Sugar Hill, and now I'm not that anymore. Or maybe all of my hopes and dreams were in my children and I lost one. Or I don't know what a loss of status could mean for you, but loss of status is something else. This is also things to keep in mind when you're interacting with other people. If they say, "Well, my spouse just died," or "I used to be, the head honcho of the group and everybody's gone but me," you understand that they've experienced a loss. And then there are religious and spiritual losses. And this is really key in churches that are doing evangelism. You will have someone come into your church, and you're so happy to have them with us. We're so happy to have them, but they have lost the church that they used to go to. They've lost their spiritual home. So be mindful of that. While we're rejoicing that they've come here, be mindful that they've lost, the position that they used to hold in that other church. There's been some spiritual losses. There could be loss of health. That's a big one. You're walking along fine and you get a diagnosis and it takes you out and it changes. And instead of people saying, "Hey girl, how you doing?" They're like, "Hey girl, how you doing?" It's a whole different response, and it's a loss. You just want to go back to before. You want to go back to how you were being treated before. Don't treat me like I'm already gone. But it's a loss that people experience, and if we're mindful of it, we can help other people navigate those waters. And then there's loss of mobility. I remember when my mom decided that she could no longer drive, and my mother went everywhere. And so loss of mobility for her was, it was difficult. She couldn't just jump in the car and drive to the grocery store. She had to wait for someone. This was before they were delivering everything like they do now. She was stuck, and she felt bound by that, and she grieved that loss. So I want to share with you one of the reasons why I do what I do. I'm going to talk to you about my personal sunshines. I don't know, I guess you can kind of see the picture. On the far left is my youngest son, Austin. Austin, I call him my biggest baby. He's my third of four children, but he's my biggest baby because he was almost 10 before my daughter, who's on the other side of me, was born. So there's Austin, Alex. Next to Alex is Brandon. And next to Brandon is my firstborn, Jay. Over time, my family has grown. You see my big grandsons there now. And I have a granddaughter who is growing up so nicely. She lives in Missouri. There's a picture of the three boys, the two boys, and the one granddaughter that we had at the time. And a few months later, recently, she's 8 months now. I have a brand new baby in the family. So when I look at this picture, I'm really excited. But there's someone missing between the first picture and the second picture, and that is Brandon. My middle son, he was minding his own business. He was leaving work, and he was in an accident. Actually, I call it a deliberate, because the man ran the stop sign, ran the red light, and plowed into him. Brandon survived 6 days, and then he passed August 6th. This summer will be 10 years. When I tell you that of all the losses that I've experienced, and there have been many, this is the one that gets me. I'm trying to kind of pause so that maybe the picture can come up on the screen so that you can see the car and see him. But the challenge with that is that, I see different things happening. I see other children, I call them children, they're all my children, his age, that are now, married, and they have children, and they're finishing up school. His roommate from Pine Forge was just got some distinguished honor at the school that he teaches at, and all of those things are going on, and then I've lost Brandon. So my question for you this evening, I'm going to move on. My question for you this evening is okay, I can go back maybe. Oh, maybe it's because I had all those clicks in it, you think? I'm sorry. Well, kind of flashes and you can kind of see. My question to you tonight is, how are you? And I want you to think of a way to describe how you are in a way that someone can relate to it. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. I was driving down the street one day, and I saw this house with the front door hanging off. And I said, wow, that is exactly how I'm feeling right now. Like I'm standing, but everything is not quite right. Some days I feel put together, but other days I feel like that picture on the left. Here's another one. Some days I feel like her, like a tree that's just bent over, just can't get it together. And some days I feel like my hairdo is on point, I kind of got it together. So I want you all to get into small groups where possible, 3 or 4, or just wherever you are. I don't need you to move far. And we're going to give you about 2 minutes to tell each other how you're feeling today. You can either use the tree analogy, you can use the house analogy, you can use weather conditions. Use something other than I'm fine, I'm great, God is good all the time. I want you to say how you're feeling. I feel like a tumbleweed that's blowing across the street. Or I feel like, you see what I'm saying? So think about it and see what you can come up with in small groups. And give you, I'm feeling like the tree with my hairdo looking good, or I'm feeling bent over. We'll keep this picture up so that you all can use that maybe as a guide if you can't think of anything else. But just share briefly how you're feeling right now. Right now. I see, like, however you all mix it up, it's fine with me. And when you get into those groups, I have something else for you to do in the group, so kind of stick there for a little bit before you move back to where you are. She said, I'm fine, I'm good. So this class did not pass the test. No, I'm just messing with you. That's so natural to say, I'm good, I'm fine. Just think about it for a minute. Mm. That's a good one. I'm listening. That's a good one. Okay, I'm giving you one more minute. I've heard some good ones. Mm, mhm. Okay, so which group wants to share with us some unique things that you came up with out of your group as to how you feel? I heard something great in the back. I'd like to hear that. And I've heard a couple things. So give me something. Just yell it out so everybody can hear. Yes. You feel like a slinky. That's a good one. Stretched all the way out and then sometimes back together. Never quite. And then slinkies, you put them on the steps and they they just keep going down sometimes. You got to really work to get them back up. Yeah, that's a good one. A slinky. Somebody else. How you feeling right now? That was it. Yes. Safe. Like a safe or just feel safe? Just feel safe. That is good. That is good. I feel safe. Praise God. Let's get two more. Did I hear something? Let me hear it. Come on, share with us. Like a tree just being blown. I'm a tree that all the wind and stuff is just like blowing at me. Mm. I'm too stubborn to maybe fall over. I'm digging in my roots. Come on now. Like a tree where all the wind is blowing at you, but you're not stubborn, you're planted, my sister. Like, and those roots are going down so deep that that tree will not, it may sway a little bit, not going to move. Yes, that's a good one. Thank you for that. One more. And thank you all back there. I don't want to be like, no. Aw, was it a good one? Yes, relaxed. Yes. Mm. Sure. She feels relaxed because she's with like believers. So as the Sabbath is coming in, she's with like minded people. Yes, that's great. Now I have, like I said, how are you? We've talked about that. Okay, now I have a job for you all to do. I'm hoping that someone in your group maybe has pen and paper. You can put it on your phone or whatever. But on the left, I have some dates. And on the right, I have some informational sources. So I'll try to, okay, so on the left, I have 1690, 1844, 1860, 1876, 1906, 1927, 1973, and 2004. Now, when did these things happen? Facebook, handheld telephone, newspaper or newsprint, Pony Express, radio, telegraph, telephone, and television. So in your groups, let's see how well you do. I know. And I thought I had paper and pencil, but I don't. So, like I said, you can maybe put it on your phone. Some of these are easier than others. Some of them are sort of obvious. So kind of pick out the one that is obvious. And do we want to do it as a whole group, or do you want to do it in your individual groups? Okay. Okay, everybody, they said whole group. Okay. Oh, we want the list up again. Is that possible? Yes. I think it's coming. There it is. There it is. Okay, so there's the dates. Okay, 2004 Facebook. Does everybody agree with that? That was an easy one. Okay, because Facebook is the most recent thing that happened. What else do you have here? 1690, Pony Express. Okay, we'll see. Are you able to take it down just to verify? Because the answer's on the next slide. Okay, so she said 1690 is Pony Express, but you said, really? So does that mean that you're not sure about that? I mean, we're safe. We're in a safe space, right? My brother said he feels safe. So we got to be able to discuss it. Newspaper is what? Okay, she thinks 1690 is a newspaper. We'll guess two more, and then, yes, Pastor. Okay, who's using their phone back there? I'm watching you, Sister Osborne. 1860 Pony Express. Oh, you looked it up. Yes. 1973 is what? Handheld telephone. You all ready for the answers? Because it's like, ugh. Okay. Newspaper print, she was correct, is 1690. Then telegraph, Pony Express, telephone, radio, television, handheld telephone, someone said. And then, of course, we know Facebook was 2004. The reason why I include this is very important. It used to be Grandpa died, you didn't find out about it until the spring if you didn't live near him. You know what I mean? You go visit Grandma once a year, you get there, oh, where's Grandpa? Oh, he passed over the winter. Oh, you're sad, show me where he was buried. Oh, I'm so sorry, you shed a few tears, you're going to miss Grandpa. But you when you heard about it, it was long. If you weren't right there, you didn't get to the funeral. You see what I mean? But I was surprised a few months ago. This woman was on Facebook, and she said that she lost her uncle. Her uncle was a great man, she said. He did all these things for the community. Oh, he was such a great man. And as I read this, I tell you, I couldn't stop crying. I was weeping and moaning, and every time I got on Facebook, she was talking more about her uncle and how they gonna miss him because of what he did for her mom and his children. And I mean, I'm just boo-hoo crying. I couldn't get it together. I almost called off work that day because I couldn't stop crying. Then I realized I don't even know this woman, let alone her uncle. But you see what I mean? It was right in my face. She was talking about it. She was so overcome. It had me all caught up, and I don't even know she's not even my friend. She's a friend of a friend of a friend, and I just happened to see the post. I've been crying over her uncle. I was crying over that man for 3 days before it dawned on me I don't even know who he is. And so, so what happens is with things like social media, you get caught up. I mean, we've gone through a terrible time with the pandemic, but what made it even worse was every time we got on social media, you saw where somebody else was gone. And yes, it's someone that you knew. Yes, you went to Oakwood with them. Yes, you knew them from a few years ago, but you didn't know them all like that. You know them now because, oh, this is a friend of a friend. Yeah, oh, he was there when I was there. Never knew that, but oh, this is terrible. And so we have to be careful with how we get our news and what we focus our minds on. I got to a point where I couldn't turn on social media every day because somebody else was dying and it had me down for the count. Do you hear me? And so is lost. That does not mean that we are not concerned about the losses that other people are going through. That does not mean that we don't have a heart for those who are hurting. What it means is that we are taking care of ourselves, especially if we have gone through a loss. Because if you're not careful, those things can tip the scale and take you down a path you can't hardly come back from. So be very careful, understanding that, yes, it's great to get news right away, but sometimes that news can really affect how you feel. So here's a question for you to ask yourself. The impact of the shadow, okay? First of all, where were you when you got the news? And I mean not only where were you physically, but where were you emotionally? For example, my father passed after a 2-year battle with cancer. So I was in the house when he passed, but emotionally my prayer was, Lord, give him rest, because I didn't want to see Daddy suffering anymore. Very different than just going to the dentist to get my daughter's braces and getting a call that my son was life-flighted to Grant Hospital, and we're there and sitting there 6 days and then hearing he didn't make it right out in the lobby. Very different. So where were you emotionally? That's something to think about, and that colors how you deal with the loss. Also, who else had that loss? If you're an only child, then when mama goes, it's just you. You lost your mother. Yeah, your children may have lost their grandparent, or you know what I'm saying, but you are the only one who called that person mother. Do you see what I'm saying? As opposed to being one of 15, you're number 13, and you got a bunch of brothers and sisters, and now so-and-so, everybody's got a personality, and you're trying to weave through all of that. Who else had the loss? Then, where are your supports? Now, sometimes we assume that the supports are our siblings, our cousins, and I see you taking notes. Feel free to take pictures of any of these slides if needed, or take notes. That's perfectly fine. Who are your supports? So let's say I lost a parent and I have 2 siblings, and I assume that they're going to help me with the arrangements. They're going to help me with this because they lost dad too, whatever. But your support might be the next door neighbor who says, hey, I knew him for 40 years. I'll help you with the obituary. Or a support might be someone who shows up and says, I'm here to clean your bathroom. Or better yet, like Janice Wabaniki's daughter-in-law did when my son died, I didn't even know Janelle was in the house. I looked around and Janelle was on her hands and knees cleaning my floors in my bathroom. And I've known Janelle since she was a child, but it touched me so. She didn't come in like, honey, I'm here to clean your bathrooms. Where's your bleach and where's your... She came in, she did what she had to do, and if I hadn't happened by, I would have never known she was there. I would have just come into a sparkling bathroom because of the love. Do you see what I'm saying? That support is invaluable, and that's how we have to do for each other. Honey, I'm coming over tomorrow. I'm going to cook you dinner. And you get over there and you're like, where's your garlic powder? And you ain't got no better pots than this. That's not helpful. Pick up a bucket of chicken and drop it off and keep it moving. I mean, sometimes we don't think practically. Some of the best things that happened for me was when people showed up with toilet paper and paper towel, blew me a kiss, and went on about their business. You don't have to sit there forever in a day, or they pray so long that you done fell straight asleep. And you know they mean well. It has nothing to do with that. But honey, could you pray in your closet and then just bless me, Jesus, and keep it moving? Because I gotta go to the funeral home, and you just sitting here and eating up all my food. I don't even want to get into that. Y'all help me. Help us, Lord. Help us, Lord. Come in, yeah, the food is here, but what are we going to eat after you done ate 6 buckets of chicken? Just be mindful of who your support is and be mindful of how to support. Did I see a question? Yes, or comment. Sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, everybody want to know how she died. That is so. Yes, you have to repeat all the time. And they want all the details. She's gone. He's gone. That's all you need to know right now. The facts will come out later. You're right. Oh, for yes. Yeah. Right. Right. Or then, and people come over and you're consoling them. Their bunions are bad and their back is hurting and they ain't got and you're so busy trying to console them. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm the one with the loss here, but now I'm wiping your tears because your dog got out and ate some bad food from the neighbor's house. It is a lot, and you're right. And as ministers of the gospel of Christ, and Pastor, I don't mean this offensively that you are not a minister, but sheep make other sheep. And we as sheep, as we tend to one another in the fold, we have to be mindful of those things. Sometimes the things that we do in earnest are so offensive. So offensive. Like she said, they want to know the details. You feel like you say, please come sit in the living room. We're going to play the video now. And then the video will say how the person died, what happened, what size shoe they wore, what their favorite color was. Okay, now that you're finished in the living room, please come into the dining room and see the family. Yeah, because it's a lot sometimes. And then And I wish I could say that I'm just so good at this, but I did something a couple weeks ago and I was just downright shaming myself. I went to visit, did my little gonna be in there 10 minutes and out. The family shared with me what their plan was. They had to travel, and they were going to travel multiple times. And here I go. Well, why y'all doing all that driving? That's a lot. And then it's like the Lord thumped me from heaven. And I said, please forgive me. That is none of my business. I'm here to support you. Can I get you a gas card? I wish I could drive with you. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's not my business what they got going on. All I'm there to do is to support. And I said, now here I'm getting ready to talk to people about grief management, and I'm failing miserably. That's why I'm grateful that we serve a God who helps us through these processes. Another question, who are you responsible? Is that, yes, comment, my pastor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. First. Yes. Yes. Right. Yeah. Give them some time. And surprise, here's a news flash. Pastor, you might not agree with me on this, but you can do good things on other days besides Saturday. You really can. You can go on a Tuesday afternoon. It's amazing. You get so much on Sabbath. What I tend to do is wait because my house was filled. You couldn't move for people. And the day after the funeral, I said hello, and there was echoes all throughout the house. So a few days later, a few weeks later, I try to make note of when the person's birthday was. Or, okay, Mother's Day is coming up. I know that's going to be difficult for them. Or, that kind of thing. And be intentional. I have to put it in my phone because otherwise, who can remember? Not everybody, but just being intentional about looking out for one another, like he said. And then another question to ask yourself is, who are you responsible for? When I was 24 years old, my husband and I and our son were on our way to a friend's house to help them clean out the garage. And I'm telling you right now, I wasn't going to do no garage cleaning. I was going for the pizza, and I was going to supervise. And on the way there, on 71 North and 5th Avenue, they've changed that exchange now. We were hit from behind by a truck. My husband was killed. My son was taken to Children's. I was taken to Grant. He was taken to Old Doctors North, where he died. I found out in the emergency room that I was expecting another baby. That baby that just died, Brandon, I was carrying him when me and his father, my husband, were in a car accident. At that time, I realized I was responsible not only for Jay, who was only 2 at the time, but I was also responsible for this unborn child. It made a difference in how I responded. Everything then had to do with taking care of those children, that unborn child and that autistic son that were in my care. But honestly, if they hadn't been there, I probably would not have eaten. I probably would not have taken care of myself at all because I was only 24 years old and it was devastating. But sometimes being responsible for someone else can be a challenge. It's like I can barely put my own shoes on. And now I'm trying to, and I really don't want to be responsible for other grown folk. Sometimes you have to speak up and say, honey, I can't do it right now. I know that you depend on me for X, Y, and Z, Cheerios and SpaghettiOs. But right now, I need you to get a bus pass or get to walk in or whatever. I can't take you. You see what I'm saying? Now, I can't tell you how to go through your process, but those are things we have to think about when we're going through. So after you figure out where are you spiritually, physically, where are you, who else had the loss, what your supports are, and who you're responsible for, only then can you even start the process of processing what you've been through. So, I'm going to talk briefly about the stages of grief. I think it's interesting because this woman, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, is that her name? Okay, because y'all know I can't see. She started out years ago and said that there are 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And when I was a young widow, I would look at this list and say, oh, whew, good, I'm done with denial. I'm ready for anger. And it just doesn't work like that. They blend. Some days you feel like I said, like that tree with your hair up, and some days you feel like the house with the door hanging off. But later on, she came up with 7 stages of grief because she realized that it really is not 5. And then as I was looking, that somebody has 10 stages of grief and 12 stages of grief. The truth is that grief is painful. And it is not anything that you can sit and say, whoo, there we go, done with that stage. But it is something very difficult to go through. Now, I need 2 brave volunteers. Star, can I call on you? Star and Sister Osborne. Do you mind? She looked at me like, oh, no, you didn't call my name. Okay. So I have something that I feel describes. This is, to me, a good description of what grief can be like. So, my sister, may I call on you to come up and help? And my sister, do you mind helping? Okay. So, what I need you to do, Star, you come here and face the audience. And my sister come behind her. My sister come behind her. I'm going to give you this one. Okay? So what you're going to... So you have to help her center it back here. And then you will tie this in the front around your waist as tight as you can. Okay? Now, I need... just like this. And you grab it and tie it around the front. I know it's you can kind of pull it. Okay. Now, when I say go, these 2 ladies are going to shake these things out of their boxes. But when they shake them, if you all can, try to grab, you'll just stand kind of to the side and try to, whatever they drop, grab them. Don't hurt yourself though. Okay? Ready, set, go. You can't use your hands. Shake them. Come on now, get them out. Sister Star is on the ground.
I can use my elbows?
You cannot use your hands or arms at all. Maybe they should be down a little more. I don't know. See? Well, she's kind of. Okay. Okay, time. So, Sister Osborne shook two out. She shook out one that has a question mark and one that says anger. Okay? Yeah, so you can take that off. Oh, she finally got one out. Did you pull it out for her? What does it say? And hers says denial. Okay? All right, so we're good. So I want you, let's give them a, thank you. I want to show you something about these two. Ooh. These two boxes represent our emotions, okay? Inside of both of these boxes are tennis ball or ping pong balls that have anger, denial, acceptance. They have a question mark on them because sometimes we don't know how we're going to feel. Thank you, ladies, so much, and you ladies for helping. Now, there's a couple things I want to show you about these boxes. First of all, Star's box still has the plastic over it. Okay? So she was going to have to shake a whole lot harder to get the emotions out of her box. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Sometimes there's something covering up everything that we're going through. And no matter, a whole lot has to be shaken before we can get those emotions out. No matter how we try. Did you see Star? She was on the peel. She was on the ground. How interesting. We can come to church. We can be kneeling down and praying. No matter how we shake, we're not going to get those things out. But now Sister Osborne, notice how her ribbon is blue. See, you look at her and you think, oh, Sister Osborne is very blue. She's very sad. But yet she was able to get her emotions out because there was nothing blocking. Do you see what I'm saying? So how many times have we said, oh, they're taking it hard. Ooh, she's crying, she's taking it hard. Sometimes because they look more blue, we think they're taking it hard, but they're getting those feelings out. They laid across oh, Mama, why'd you leave me? Take me with you, Mama. But they're getting those emotions out. Whereas the other one that seems to have such a sunny disposition is sitting there and there's stuff inside. Now, the emotions are inside of all of us. It just matters how we go through it and how we can get those things out. And I don't care what you say. I believe in the Lord. I believe in His word. We have got to find ways to make safe spaces for people to be able to talk about their pain. We cannot, how many times have you seen someone and you say, oh, here they come again. Oh, happy Sabbath, sweetheart. How you doing? Oh, but people need to be able to talk about it because you know what? As long as we are on this earth, we have either gone through it or we're going to face it one day. And so we've got to have compassion with one another as we go through. And thank you all for helping me to give a demonstration of how that feels. So I ask again, how are you? How are you? When you ask someone, you know how we say, how are you? I'm fine. How you doing, girl? I'm fine. How you feeling? Oh, I'm good. How's everything going? It's great. Now, granted, people don't always, it's not always a forum to say, well, honey, my bunions are hurting me today, and the rent ain't paid, and my car broke down, and my gold tooth fell out, and you see what I'm saying? But we've got to, like my gentleman said, he said, I feel safe. We've got to create a space where we feel safe to say, it's been a rough day. It's a cloudy day today. Like sometimes I'll say my thumbs are out, but they're not up, or just different things like that with people that I feel I can say that with. Identifying the sunshine, we're almost to the end. Know this, Jesus is the light. Now, this is not a pat answer. You've got to find ways. But the Bible is so real. It talks about loss and it talks about death. It talks about Jacob calling his sons together. And Jacob went through grief and his son was alive. But there was grief nonetheless. You have story after story in God's word. David breaks it down about how he's feeling. And all of those things in God's word will help you find the sunshine. Oops. Oh. But as the pastor said earlier, you don't get a shadow if there's not some sunshine. So if you're going through the valley of the shadow of death, know that the sunshine is making that shadow. So no matter what you're going through, no matter how dark it is, it's not all dark, because if it was all dark, there would be no shadow. Light is there somewhere, and the smallest flicker of light will give you a shadow. And so look for that small glimmer of light. Try to find something positive in the day if you can, even when you've experienced loss. There's a verse that says he will never leave you nor forsake you. And I love what he says. He says, leave means I will never go out or go away from you. And forsake says, I will never abandon or desert you. So even if you feel alone and, by yourself, know that his word is true. Remember what we said in the beginning. We believe in the Almighty and the power of his word. The last piece I want to share with you is how God fills empty spaces. He has never left us alone. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Look at creation. Day 1, he separated light from dark. Day 2, he did the firmament. When I was little, I used to say, on day 2, God made nothing. He made the air. Day 3, he made vegetation. Then he went back and he filled in those empty spaces. Day 4, he put the sun to rule the day and the moon to rule the night. Day 5, he filled in the air and the sea with bird and fowl. Day 6, he put animals and man on the vegetation. And of course, on the 7th day, he rested. There's also stories in the Bible. Isaac, when Sarah died, his mother, that's when he found Rebekah. Now, I'm not saying if you just lost someone, you should go out and get married. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that Rebekah comforted him after the loss of his mother. We have Dorcas, who died, and she was so missed that she was brought back to life. She was probably brought back and said, now, y'all know I was tired of cooking for y'all. But they filled the empty spaces. And Jesus on the cross, he said, John, behold thy mother. And he said, Mother, behold thy son. What he was saying was there should be no lack in God's kingdom. If you see someone who doesn't have a mother, be that mother for them. I love in our church, there were 2 older women. The older of the 2 said to the younger of the 2, I will be your daughter because you lost a child. And the younger one said, great, you can be my mother because I lost my mother. And so there's a way to fill in those empty spaces. And so I want to leave you with some ways to manage your grief. Make some decisions. Decide, I'm trying to decide what you need. Sometimes you need to be alone. I mean, some people would tell me, you don't need to be alone today. Yes, I do. I just need a moment. Because when you come over, I feel like I have to be a hostess. And I didn't want to do that. But decide what you need. I need a good meal. I need some peaches, whatever. Decide where you want to be. Do you want to be home? Do you want to be out at a restaurant? Do you want to just go for a drive by the side of the road? And decide who you can help along this journey. Now, that may come a little later, but as you help others, you help yourselves. Celebrate. Celebrate your faith. Celebrate your loved one. When I'm missing Brandon loved peanut butter. He put peanut butter on absolutely anything. So y'all know I'm going for a Reese cup because I miss Brandon. When I'm eating Reese's, you know that I'm really missing Brandon. Celebrate yourself. You're still here. You're still standing. And then trust your team. You got the whole of heaven that's waiting to help you. We've got spiritual leaders. We've got other friends. And I'm going to end with this lesson from Recovery Court. I'm a court stenographer. My magistrate hears a docket of adult men and women who have lost their children because of their addiction. One day a lady came into court and she said, I don't have a place to live. I don't have food. I don't have clothing. I don't have money in my pocket. She went through a whole list, about 4 or 5 things that she didn't have. And one of the members said, you need to trust your team. Why? Because somebody had already found housing for her. Someone else had already gotten bus passes for her. She had a voucher to go to a clothing store and get and get clothes. Not a secondhand, but like a department store. She had all of these things in place, but she was not reaching out. They said, we need to hear from you. And once we hear from you and you tap into us, we've got everything you need. And we've got a plan for you to get clean so that you can get your children back. And so she tapped into that team, and within about 6 or 7 months, she was made whole and her children could come home. Trust your team. Trust that there are people who are available to help you. So I just want to leave you with this quote. Blessed are those who mourn. The Bible promises that you will be comforted. God bless you. Sir Lena, I'm turning it back over to you.